football. So obviously, fantasy season is on the horizon. I did something really cool, you guys. I had this idea as a commissioner this year to put all of our pool money into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is pumping right now, and I love it. I love the big pump from Bitcoin. So basically, we're going to be, taking our $300 total.
Yep.
It's all in Bitcoin. We're already up $80, guys. So we're already up $80. It's only been 1 month since we began putting money in. And here we are. So
what perfect timing for it too,
Oh yeah, well it was down, so I was like, hey, I have this great idea. We're gonna make extra money, so we buy in 25 a piece, and then by the time January rolls around, Bitcoin could be up to 80,000, per Bitcoin. So that'd be amazing. So I'm hoping that's the case. But anyways, you guys, with that said, I just want to do a little humble brag for a minute. But now I did have something that you and I talked about, Jason, a little bit off air earlier today, but there's going to be some impacts this year with some of the new rules in the NFL, and especially with the COVID protocols and things like that. And I know there's a lot of people out there wondering and asking themselves and probably asking their friends, like, how much of an impact does it make now to look at your draft board and you're going to see maybe an unvaccinated player in your draft board next to a vaccinated, but maybe that vaccinated player is a little bit, not as good as the unvaccinated player. Like, let's say DeAndre Hopkins, for example, is on your board. Is he a guy that you would still trust in taking at his current ADP position? Or do you overlook him because you're afraid that he's going to end up getting suspended at some point? Or not suspended, but, docked a game at some point, or, they're going to end up doing something within their protocols to remove him and the whole team maybe from playing in their game. Does that make an impact to you guys when you're looking at your draft boards at all?
It's very little for me. I mean, especially with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. So overall, you look at it, if they have to forfeit a game, that doesn't really affect me in fantasy. So the worst case scenario for me in fantasy is that these guys are going to have to sit out 2 games. So obviously, I'm not going to reach for these guys. And when I talk about these guys, I'm talking about Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins, Cole Beasley, Cam Newton, Kirk Cousins, guys like that. I mean, I'm certainly not going to reach for them, but I'm also not going to draft them at their ADP. So for me, I mean, if they fall, let's just say 1 round, especially guys like Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins, if I can get them 1 round under their ADP, I'm going to be all over that because, like I said, the worst case scenario, they're going to miss 2 games, probably only going to miss 1 game. And you look at guys like Lamar Jackson, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, those guys are superstars. So I'm not going to pass them up just because they start falling in my draft. I'm just not going to take them at their ADP. So I'm going to let them fall a little bit, maybe take them maybe 1 round later. And as far as guys like Cole Beasley, Cam Newton, Kirk Cousins, well, their ADP is all the same. They're all at 125. And so I can take those guys at 125. I don't really care. That's so late in the draft that I don't give a shit. But I mean, if you see these guys start falling, you're going to take them without a doubt. But I certainly wouldn't take them at their ADP. I'm certainly not going to reach for them.
Yeah, so like equal right here, ADP is Calvin Ridley at 20.1, and then Hopkins is 20.1 as well. They're the exact same ADP right now. So in that case, you're going to lean towards Ridley if you were going to assume he is vaccinated then?
I'm probably not taking either one of those guys, to be all honest with you, because, you've got the COVID situation with D-Hop, but then with Ridley, I mean, I don't really trust that. You guys know I'm a health freak, right? And when these guys show me that they're not necessarily going to be healthy for a full season, I probably wouldn't take Calvin Ridley either. There's probably a better option right in that range, to be honest with you.
I got you.
Yeah, I would say maybe treating it more like of last year with all the COVID stuff going on, right? For me, it's going to be a game of chances again this year.
Yeah.
If D-Hop is there, I'm probably taking D-Hop. Plain and simple. He just has more promise. There's more value there. I'm not worried about if he's vaxxed or not vaxxed.
You're not going to let him fall.
No,
to be clear.
No,
okay?
I'm not.
Because I'm going to let him fall.
I think for me, it's just going to be kind of treating it like 2020. Anything could happen, but why? If the guy's there and he's in what your board of where you want him to be, go for it. There's no sense of it. If you see a better player that might have, you're bouncing in between, maybe draft the other guy. But at the same time, it's a game of chance, guys. It's just like fantasy here. We're talking fantasy football. It's always a game of chance. We treat it like 2020. Go draft the guy. There's no sense in
and
it.
Specifically with D-Hop, I mean, I'm not saying you have to wait a full round. I mean, if he drops 8 to 10 picks below his ADP, I mean, I have no problem
take it.
drafting
Yeah.
him. I mean, but I'm just saying I'm not gonna reach for a guy like that because we don't know what's gonna happen with these COVID rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the NFL is, kind of out to get them. I mean, we've seen that throughout the rules. They're making it as hard as possible on these guys, so that's something to take in consideration as time unfolds. But I'm with you on that, Tanner, where it's a thing where anything could happen. It's not worth worrying about what if when it comes to this whole thing,
No.
because we just don't know. I mean, this guy could play 16 games, not have one issue, no big deal. It's fine. And then again, you could draft Ridley, and Ridley's injured by week 3.
Yeah.
And so it's like, he could, I mean, don't give up on a guy just because they're, unvaccinated or it's publicly been put out there at this point.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to give up on them, but at the same time, you want to go into your draft with the expectation that they might fall. They have a higher level of
Correct. Yeah.
potential, the fact that they might
They-
fall.
they
so.
could-
Good,
might
good
fall.
value then.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to reach for anything,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
You
that's
gotta
in
be
general
you gotta
rule,
be
though.
ready to grab them if it's not in your normal strategy if they start falling.
Correct.
But then again, there's also a lot of players out there that we don't know. They're keeping their
They're not
mouths
gonna
shut.
tell you.
They're keeping their mouths shut. They don't want to talk about it, and so
And you don't know.
there's some guys we just don't even know if they're vaccinated or not. So it's almost like just let's get it out of our heads and not make this any more of an issue.
Yeah.
So I'm the people out there listening. All I'm saying is don't let it affect your draft day decisions drastically. If you have a situation where it's 1A, 1B, sure, take the guy that you assume is going to be healthier and not cause a COVID issue in the locker room. So, but otherwise, don't sit there and make a big deal
It's
of it.
like, are you going to take Michael Thomas or A.J. Brown or Julio Jones, right? On that range. They're all injured bums at some point in the season.
We don't even know if Michael Thomas wants to play this year for
Correct.
that team.
Like,
That's
but-
a different
but-
Well,
situation.
but we know Julio does want to play.
We know
and-
Julio
and even though
does.
Julio's always injured, Tanner, he always plays through it.
I know.
so
I'm just
that's
telling you,
fine.
like, in a way, like, from Jason's point, they're all injured bums at some point. So, like,
Well, Sammy Watkins,
Well,
to be fair, I looked it up on the Sports Injury Predictor today.
yeah.
You guys think I'm joking around? That website has him at a 90% chance of getting injured this year. So
Do you guys think the reptilian lizard of Sammy Watkins is vaccinated?
I don't really care. I'm not going to draft him anyway because he
No
has a
clue.
90% chance of getting injured.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we already know that's going to happen at some point. So, and he actually made a little comment about the Ravens and like how explosive their receivers are and this and that. And he said something about the Chiefs recently too.
Well,
and
so his comment was quickly. It was just about him saying, "Hey, I can get more targets here. I don't have to be.
Right.
I don't have to be
But
the distraction to Tyreek Hill."
also, if you're on the field, you get more targets too. So
Exactly. Like,
you got to be on the field more
too.
to get targets.
So that's all
So-
it was. It was nothing major. It wasn't like a cheap shot.
All right, so it sounds like we're pretty much all in agreement on how you should be looking at your draft day approach for the vaccinated versus unvaccinated players. Just don't overthink it too much. Take the guy if they're there, but also don't be reaching for him either. Just play it smart. You use your common sense and logic that help you out a little bit. All right, you guys, so we're going to talk running backs today for a bit. So we've been talking each week, or at least we've been trying each week to be talking about, we did tight ends, we've done quarterbacks, we did wide receivers, and now we're to the running backs, which is, in some cases, essentially the most important position to take because they're very difficult to find. So we got a few hidden gems in our list here. Last year we drew cards. Today we were drawing names out of a hat. So got my Chiefs hat here, and we're gonna kick it off. So we're gonna name off the running back. We're gonna pick a card here. Pick a sheet, Jason. And so then you're gonna see the ADP. I want you to tell me if they're overrated or underrated on that ADP. And if you think they're underrated or overrated, tell me who you would rather take ahead of them or behind them. So. I'll let you go first, Jason. You seem like you're getting real anxious. This is not like Halloween candy, so be careful over there. It's one card. There you go.
Gosh, I can't even read your damn writing. Can we do the damn cards next time? What the heck? Okay, we got Miles Sanders of the Eagles. 36.4. So I'm going to go with overrated on him because I've heard reports out of camp that he is evenly split between him and Boston Scott. So I'm going to go overrated 36.4. I'm not a big running back guy anyway early in drafts. But I'm certainly not going to go at 36 with Miles Sanders because that could be a split backfield.
Yeah, Jason, we actually had a commenter recently ask us about Miles Sanders.
Yes, we did.
So he was wondering about where he should be taken at. I think the guy's on the rise, though. Even though he's going to be splitting carries potentially with Boston Scott and Jordan Howard's there, but I think that Miles Sanders, his yards per carry is 5.3. Like that tells me the guy has explosive ability, so he could be a home run hitter, and I would definitely keep him on the radar. I don't know if 36.4 was going to be great. But
I mean, your next one up there is David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins. Like maybe maybe Dobbins in a way would go down, but I'd take Sanders. I wouldn't take Sanders over Montgomery.
I would. Yeah,
You
Sanders
would?
over Montgomery. David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I would take Sanders over
Alright.
Montgomery.
Well,
I'll
I've also heard reports that the organization doesn't trust him to stay healthy based on his injury history, so that's why they're trying to get Boston Scott more carries. So,
Gotcha.
not taking him at 36. There's no way.
All right, Tanner, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next.
We have 9 running backs we're going to talk about here.
That's all one. All right. Kareem Hunt, Browns, guys, 57.6. So Kareem Hunt, guys, is also splitting carries with the recently signed Nick Chubb. So, but he was also really effective when Chubb was out, but he was also effective with Chubb in. He was more of a receiving back for that point, and I think that's where you're going to get a lot of your points this year. I kind of threw up here little cards here that I also have made out from last year's stats, last couple of years. And Kareem Hunt is a force last year for this Browns team. And Baker Mayfield looking to expand his game a little more with Odell Beckham coming back into play. And I think Nick Chubb will be mainly your main down running back. But Kareem Hunt's going to go out there and get their red zone touches.
That'd be interesting to
That's
see
kind of my
how that
thoughts.
goes.
Now,
Yeah.
57.6, I think he's fine where he's at on that part. I don't see no reason why
Yeah,
you should go.
that round would be 6th round, 4th pick.
Correct.
Would be the average round on that. So
Correct. Yeah.
That's probably
And
fair.
You got guys like Miles Gaskins, Darrell Henderson Jr., and Josh Jacobs ahead of you. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of fair on keeping that Kareem Hunt right around that range.
And there's always the upside too. If something was to ever happen with Nick Chubb, then Kareem will step in and he'll be RB1 right away. So
Correct.
That's something to also consider.
Yeah, I agree. 57 should be about average for him.
Yeah.
All right, my next pick here. We got Chuba Hubbard of the Panthers, actually.
Chuba Hubbard.
So we were going to do top 50 running backs. He falls just under the top 50, but he's an intriguing one to me to see how how the season plans out for him. Obviously, he's a big name, obviously, in college football, so we know he's got at least some explosive ability. But I think that this is actually a pretty fair pick for him at this point for the Carolina Panthers. I think that he should be taken in that range, but I would not be afraid to take him over guys like J.D. McKissick and Tarek Cohen as well. I think that, even a guy like a Todd Gurley, I would actually take him over Todd Gurley at this point because Gurley, he's trending downwards, and we're not seeing the better part anymore of Todd Gurley of this life. So, and Alexander Madison's ahead of him. I think I would take Hubbard over any of those guys. I just think the upside there with the Panthers, and that's going to be a run-first offense, without a doubt.
Correct, and
So-
he's going to take over the role of Mike Davis that had a great year last year
Exactly.
with McCaffrey out, and also even with McCaffrey in, he was still effective, and he was a great fantasy value for where he should have been. So this is a guy definitely to keep an eye out for if you're looking for a late round running back. It's not a bad pick at all.
All right, we're looking at round 15 on this, guys.
Correct.
So,
You also have the number 1 handcuff in all of fantasy football.
That's
at
true.
some point, so.
yeah, it's true because we saw when McCaffrey went down last year when Mike Davis stepped in. Mike Davis put up McCaffrey numbers. So,
Exactly.
I mean, this
Yeah.
could be a guy that does something very similar if he's to step in right away and make an impact. But, then again, we also hope that Christian stays healthy too. So,
Yeah, dynamic player.
Jason's up next.
All right. We've got Najee Harris of the Steelers. So his
Najee Harris.
ADP is 21.0. And my brother actually got to meet Najee Harris because he went to high school out of the San Francisco area. And so my brother told me that this guy is just a great guy. He's a workaholic. And he's going to be a great football player. And so at 21, I understand that he's not really a proven commodity right now, but I'm going to go with properly rated here. So I'm not going to say overrated, underrated. I'm going to say he's properly rated at 21. I know for a fact the Steelers are going to run the ball more than you think they're going to run the ball this year. So it's not going to be like the old Steelers with Antonio Brown where they just throw it and they go for 2 every single time after they get in the end zone. So it's going to be a run-first offense, and so I love Najee Harris. I think he's properly rated at 21.
Yeah,
Probably
I,
right.
I like it too. I mean, he's going to be used a lot this year. So
Do you guys really think he'll be that effective though to be that high in as a rookie?
I think volume wise, I think he's just going to be kind of force fed over there. And Steelers have done nothing but praise him. And we saw him a little bit in preseason week 1 of the Hall of Fame game. So we just see him. I think how many carries did he get? 7 carries, I think.
Yeah,
Tanner?
seven
So,
carries.
Yeah, he got in there quite a bit to begin with. So I
Okay.
think he's going to be a guy to definitely watch out for. So
Interesting one. All right, let's see here what we got today. Leonard Fournette, guys, with the Bucks, 86 and a half. Is that right? 86 and a half.
yeah, 86.5.
Man, that's a high one. This guy is actually at the top of the depth chart currently for the Bucks, and that's kind of interesting part of why he's so high. If you look at or guys kind of around him right now, you got Javonte Williams with Denver. Ronald Jones is actually ahead of him as well, and James Robinson are all up ahead of him. But then you got Damian Harris from New England, Mostert for San Francisco, and Melvin Gordon III for Denver as well. So I don't know.
Well, him and Ronald Jones are basically together right there. They're
Yeah,
the same spot.
I mean, they're going to split, I think, for sure again this year. It's going to be kind of a repeat. PPR-wise, though, if we're going to talk PPR, I'd say he's probably right where you want him to be because he's going to be right in that range. I'd take Ronald Jones over him for sure. As far as that, I think Ronald Jones will have more upside of getting additional yards, additional receiving yards as well. Then Leonard Fournette's going to be kind of your pound back again, where you're just going to pound him into the end zone every time or first down.
I thought in the postseason last year he looked great.
He did.
I mean, Fournette looked like how Fournette should be looking last year in
His
the postseason.
first couple years of Jacksonville kind of the style. But,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think the gameplay will kind of be similar to last year, where you have Ronald Jones taking a lot of the receiving snaps and also maybe the starting job in the end.
Yeah, I think for me with Fournette is like, I don't care if they're splitting carries. I mean, if you have a good running back on a good team in fantasy, I'm going to go with underrated here on Fournette because you got a great offense, and if you're a good running back and a good team, you're gonna have a great season. And if Ronald Jones' second gets injured or something like that, he's going to explode. You're going to have an RB1 instantly. So I'm going to go underrated here on Leonard Fournette at 86.5.
Do you know exactly where you might take him at?
I mean, I'd probably go at least where Ronald Jones is.
Okay.
I mean, Ronald Jones is at 71.9. I
Okay.
would take him at 71.9.
Right around there,
I mean,
okay.
they're basically the same fucking guy, so.
That's not a lie.
All right, guys, I just drew my pick here, and I've got Ezekiel Elliott coming in at 7 ADP on this list. So he is sandwiched in between Jonathan Taylor and Nick Chubb. So I think, without a doubt for me, Ezekiel Elliott's going to break out once again this year. He's going to make up for some of the lackluster performances he's had here recently, and I like he's down at least 10 pounds from his last playing weight was 228 now to 218, which is much healthier for where he needs to be at, and he's shown it in camp.
Oh, yeah.
Looks slimmer. He's going to be faster. He's going to be more of that Ohio State Ezekiel Elliott and what we saw the rookie year. We're going to see more rookie year Zeke come back and return back to the NFL once again, and I think he knows the Cowboys team. To me, like I said earlier, when we did our NFC East breakdown, that's a playoff team. That's a 10-win team to me. And I think if Zeke is going to be, a big part of that, then it's going to be necessary for him to be in control of his weight and of his performance and playing like he did a few years ago, his rookie year. So I think Zeke at 7 is actually underrated. I would take him over Jonathan Taylor. I would probably take him over Alvin Kamara even right now too, because Kamara is going to have a little bit of a downtick due to Drew Brees being gone.
You don't think we'll go into Kamara later, but you don't think Kamara will be the main guy with Thomas out? Like Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill are going to look for somebody.
He's still
like
going to get
last year.
touches without a doubt. I think that the
Do
actual
you think Ezekiel
efficiency.
Elliott? Now, are we for Elliott, guys? Elliott's a big one to Cowboys. Dak Prescott, is he an issue for Elliott? If Prescott's not healthy, are we seeing maybe Elliott being not as great this year?
I don't think it's going to make an impact at all on Elliott when it comes to the running game. The offensive line is still great. We already know that. So I don't think Dak is going to make an impact one way or the other on Zeke.
Okay.
And he might impact the motivation because Zeke is a guy who's, like cryptocurrency, up and down on motivation. You never know what he's going to do each day with some of that. So
It's like Dennis Rodman.
I don't know if we go that far. maybe not that extreme. But, I don't think I don't think Dak has anything to do with Zeke's performance this year.
No, he doesn't. But I do think that Dak is, for the most part, healthy. I mean, I don't think he's going to have a career year. I think it's going to take him, at least a few games to get back in the swing of things. I do think Zeke is properly rated here, though. The only guy that I would take ahead of Zeke is Saquon Barkley, just because of the upside.
Really?
Yeah, I think Saquon Barkley. I mean, if he's healthy at this point, he's going to explode.
Yeah, he just returned to
much,
practice.
Much better talent than Ezekiel Elliott. I mean,
Man.
especially catching the ball out of the backfield. So
Yeah. All right, Jason, you're up next. Go ahead and take a pick.
All right, we're going to go with Travis Etienne at 62.9. And I'm going to go with underrated on this guy.
Really? What's
Just slightly. And the only reason I know this is because this guy is an elite talent. And I know that the coach has said that he's only going to be playing on third downs. I'm not buying that shit. This motherfucker is going to be used all over the field. And, 62.9, I think he has tremendous upside. And even if he only plays on third downs, I mean, what if the starter gets injured? I mean, I'm a big believer in this guy, so
Yeah.
I think he's slightly underrated. I wouldn't jump too high. Like, I wouldn't reach too far for him. Maybe like 58, 57, somewhere in there. But I think you're going to get your money's worth with this guy because he is a fucking stud.
I wish I could figure out where I saw it, but I saw Travis being actually positioned as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I can't
He's gonna be
recall
using the
where,
receiving game a ton.
but it was nothing about an RBWR. It was a wide receiver position. I mean, are we looking at like a who was the receiver, Montgomery for the Packers?
Yeah, Ty Montgomery.
Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
Are we looking at that? Maybe kind of that style of player.
Well, something to think about too, just real quick, you guys. He's also playing with his college teammate Trevor Lawrence, so let's take that into consideration as well. I think it's a great fit between those two, and as far as in the passing game, I mean, Lawrence is comfortable with throwing to Travis Etienne. We already know that,
Yes.
so I think Etienne, without a doubt, guys, he ran a 4.3, so I mean, the dude's fast as hell. He's going to be definitely a playmaker without a doubt. I like him over guys like DeAndre Swift, and I like him over Darrell Henderson, and I like him over Myles Gaskin.
Okay, Kareem Hunt or Travis,
Between the two of those,
between the two, because they're right next to each other
they are.
ADP wise.
they are. And then, yeah, that's a tough one between those two because, it's the old upside game where Kareem has probably more upside due to volume share if something was to happen to Nick Chubb, but Etienne might be more explosive than Kareem Hunt. So
I just think the Jaguars organization is trying to downplay what they're going to do with him this year because they've been saying all along, oh, he's just a third down back. I mean, they spent too much of a high draft pick to only use him on third downs, and I think they're just trying to downplay his effectiveness, and I think he's going to explode this year.
All right,
you might. All right, Tanner, you're up next. We got 2 more picks to go.
two more.
Oh yeah.
Myles Gaskin, the Dolphins, guys. 52.4 is where he's at. And that is right around the same as Kareem Hunt. And
He sucks.
Travis. I knew it was coming. So, kind of interesting for Myles Gaskin, guys. He had a struggle year last year. He was hurt for, almost the entire year, I think, after a couple weeks. So, it's hard to take him at this spot, I believe. You also got Malcolm Brown, who they, as well, in that depth chart that is fighting for the spot. And they are talking about being a split field. And Malcolm Brown's actually kind of been taking more snaps with the first team from what I've been reading from Myles Gaskin. So, I don't know. It's kind of a risky pick.
I mean, we talk about the guys. I mean, he's ranked right now ahead of Kareem and Etienne and Mike Davis, Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I would say this guy is not a guy I would pick at this spot. I definitely would wait on this to see if he drops.
Yeah.
I think it's too far of a reach at this point.
He's got a lot to prove too.
I'm going to go with slightly overrated here just because we don't know what to expect from the Dolphins this year. I mean, the Dolphins could have a good year or they could just take a step back. We don't really know what to expect from them this year. And if I'm trying to draft a good running back on a good team, I mean, 52 is a little bit high for me.
Yeah.
I guess I would say slightly overrated on Gaskin.
All right, guys, I just did my last pick here in our last pick, a little game here. I got David Montgomery of the Bears at 32.9. It says ADP. He is actually sandwiched between J.K. Dobbins and Miles Sanders. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also just 2 spots ahead of him. For me, he is overrated at this listing, at this spot, because I think the guy's okay. He does get plenty of touches because the Bears don't have a lot of options to begin with in the backfield, because obviously the other things they've been messing around with, he's the healthiest option at this point for what the Bears are trying to do. He did have 1,000 yards last year and 8 touchdowns, averaged 4.3 yards a carry, which is serviceable. I just think that he doesn't have the upside that I really value in a lot of running backs, where I like some guys like Josh Jacobs, who's ranked lower than him, to be much higher than where David Montgomery is coming in at. So I think you got more upside with that. I also would take Miles Sanders over David Montgomery as well. Is Montgomery a safe pick? Sure. I mean, if you're not caring for trying to hit a home run by any means, I guess you could take him. But then again, you're going to be spending a third-round pick on him. So for a third-round pick, I'm out for the David Montgomery show.
I would say it's a safe pick if you're just talking about volume, but it kind of goes back to what I said about Gaskin with the Dolphins. I mean, how good of a team do you really think the Bears are going to be?
Okay.
And our defense is going to be keying on David Montgomery, and if they are, I mean, I'm certainly not going to use my 32nd pick to take him.
The issue for you guys here is quarterback play, I'm hearing, right? That's kind of what we're worried
No,
about.
I want a good running back on a good team.
That's all.
So if you have a good running back on a bad team, a la Barry Sanders,
Tanner,
that's a bad example.
My issue is
but
talent. I don't think David Montgomery is that talented. That's my issue with him.